Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Robert.
And I'm Yochanan El Rome.
In our top story, the IDF has eliminated the top commander of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, in Beirut. The targeted bombing of the Iran-backed terror group's military command center was meticulously planned and executed after years of surveillance, coupled with real-time intelligence. According to the IDF, the strike was carried out while Hezbollah's leaders were planning imminent terror attacks against the citizens of the State of Israel. Just moments after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the United Nations General Assembly, warning that he would not allow Hezbollah to destroy Lebanon and northern Israel, bunker-buster bombs targeted the terror group's headquarters. Nasrallah's body, along with that of a prominent general in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, were recovered in Lebanon, along with dozens of other senior members of Hezbollah. As a result of this devastating strike and the recent cyber attack on Hezbollah beepers, which took out 5,000 Hezbollah operatives, the terror army is scrambling to find new leaders to continue its jihad against the Jewish state. The IDF announced that after the targeted killing of most of Hezbollah's senior leadership, it is ready for the next phase of the war. The Lebanese army has pulled back from the border, and Israel has declared the area a closed military zone. The IDF has begun small ground operations along the Blue Line to dismantle Hezbollah's infrastructure.
Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, declared 5 days of national mourning for Hezbollah terror boss Hassan Nasrallah. The Ayatollah urged all Muslims to use whatever means they have to confront what he called the wicked regime of Israel. The tyrannical head of the fanatic Islamic Republic has gone into hiding in a secure location, fearing the long arm of the Israel Defense Forces that have already eliminated hundreds of terror operatives.
The IDF reportedly hacked the control tower at the Beirut International Airport and denied Iranian planes permission to land. Israeli operatives instructed incoming Iranian aircraft to turn back on approach and warned that if the airliner attempted to land, it would be attacked. Iran has been using civilian airliners to transfer advanced weapons and fighters to Hezbollah.
The IDF has confirmed that it killed the head of the Lebanese branch of Hamas. Fatih Sharif Abu el-Amin was responsible for coordinating Hamas activity in Lebanon with Hezbollah. He recruited operatives and procured weapons for the Iranian-backed terror group. In addition to his role of advancing Hamas politically and militarily, Sharif was also on the payroll of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. According to reports in Arab media, the Hamas leader in Lebanon was the head of the teachers' union for UNRWA. The UN agency confirmed that Sharif was an employee, but that he was put on leave in March.
The Israeli Air Force has sent a strong message to the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen by bombing a major port and a power plant controlled by the guerrilla army. The Houthis have targeted Israel numerous times since October 7th and have terrorized the Red Sea shipping routes by attacking commercial vessels, seizing cargo, and kidnapping crew members. The rebel army has also fired ballistic and surface-to-surface missiles at Israel. The IDF released a statement saying over the past year, the Houthis have been operating under the direction and funding of the Shiite regime in Tehran and in cooperation with Iraqi militias in order to attack the Jewish state. They are also working to undermine regional stability and disrupt global freedom of navigation. The sophisticated strikes in Yemen were intended to cripple the proxy army's flow of Iranian weapons, fighters, and oil.
The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden announced that it is not helping Israel in the war against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Sources in the Pentagon confirm that Washington is not assisting Israel or providing it with intelligence, despite the fact that Israel is hunting down terrorists who have been on America's most wanted list for decades. The Biden-Harris administration released a statement hailing the elimination of top Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, while at the same time demanding a diplomatic solution in Lebanon and Gaza. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell strongly condemned President Biden for continuing to delay the delivery of vital military equipment to Israel. They stressed that America's ally is in the midst of a war for its survival. The Republican lawmakers said delaying equipment that Israel requires to win this multi-front war against Iranian terrorist proxies, compounded by White House statements blaming Jerusalem for escalating the conflict, undercut Israel's efforts to restore deterrence by emboldening the Iranian-backed terrorist.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been briefed on real and specific threats to his life emanating from Iran. The presidential candidate has survived 2 assassination attempts, and the Secret Service has increased his protection detail. The Trump campaign released a statement saying that Iran's plans to kill him are part of its campaign to destabilize and create chaos in the United States. It said, "Make no mistake, the terror regime in Iran loves the weakness of Kamala Harris and is terrified of the strength and resolve of President Trump."
Germany has announced that individuals who use racist slogans such as "from the river to the sea" will be denied German citizenship. A new citizenship law passed in Berlin recognizes Germany's special historical responsibility for the Holocaust and the protection of Jewish life. The clause stipulates that any individual who contravenes Germany's legal commitment to the protection of Jews may not be eligible for citizenship. It specifically notes the anti-Semitic slogans posted to social media, including "from the river to the sea," as well as maps replacing the Jewish state with a Palestinian flag, are considered to be in violation of the law.
The CEO of Israel's Postal Service has delivered hundreds of letters addressed to God to the rabbi of the Western Wall. The letters sent to God in Jerusalem were collected during the Jewish year 5784, and on the eve of the new year 5785, the letters were placed inside of the Western Wall. Rabbi Shmuel Rabinowitz said that it is an honor to receive the letters sent from people all over the world and place them among the stones of the Wailing Wall. He said, "May this year and its curses end, and may a new year and its blessings begin with the safe return of the hostages, for the well-being of the soldiers and for the wounded, for peace and unity among the people of Israel, and for a good inscription and sealing of the Book of Life."
The British Broadcasting Corporation has finally agreed to air the documentary of the massacre at the Nova Music Festival after all references to terrorists were removed. The film, We Will Dance Again, tells the story of the slaughter of more than 360 people at the Nova Music Festival on October 7th last year. The 90-minute documentary has been shown around the world. However, the BBC refused to broadcast it unless all references to Hamas as terrorists were taken out. Director Yariv Motzer said that ultimately it was a price he was willing to pay so that the British public would be able to see the October 7th atrocities.
Israeli researchers have announced a major breakthrough in diagnosing markers for Parkinson's disease. Scientists at Tel Aviv University have developed a method to detect protein aggression in cells, which is a hallmark of Parkinson's syndrome. This discovery may enable diagnosis up to 15 years before symptoms appear, allowing early treatment and even the possible prevention of the incurable disease. In an exclusive interview with the Times of Israel, Professor Uri Ashrei said, "We hope that in coming years it will be possible to offer preventative treatments for family members of Parkinson's patients who are at risk of developing the disease."
Jews and Christians around the world are preparing to mark 1 year since the Hamas genocidal attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. 1 year ago, on the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah, thousands of Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists slaughtered 1,200 people in the most gruesome ways. They also took 253 hostages into the radical Islamic enclave of Gaza. 101 innocent people remain in brutal Hamas captivity. Memorial ceremonies are scheduled to be held throughout Israel and around the world to mourn the loss of these beautiful souls and pray for the return of all of the remaining hostages.
The Jewish people will begin the observance of the Day of Atonement this week. From sundown on Friday, October 11th until sunset on October 12th, Jews will fast and pray for forgiveness from God. Yom Kippur is the holiest day on the Jewish calendar, when the entire nation of Israel collectively afflicts their souls by refraining from food and water and praying for deliverance. The days after Rosh Hashanah leading up to Yom Kippur are known as the Days of Awe, where the Jewish people recite special slichot prayers and request forgiveness for any wrongdoings from others, so that by the Day of Atonement they will be humble when they ask for forgiveness from God.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. We're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Zadok Dror. He's the producer and director of Supernova. Zadok, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Please tell our viewers a little about the movie Supernova.
This movie was initiated on October 8th, one day after the October 7th massacre. I was sitting in my home. I'm a documentary filmmaker for many years, and I felt that history was knocking on my door, and I have to do something, especially when I saw the wave of denial that came out on social media. So I grabbed the phone, I called my partner in Germany, I told him, listen, we have to do something because this is the most hideous thing that I remember in my whole entire life that happened here. And when people are denying this, now, when it really happened, we have to do something. This is a call for action. So we came out and we started to make phone calls to try to find people who were in the music festival. And because Israel is such a small place, it was easy to find somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, to get the people, to get the testimonies from the people who were at the music festival at the Nova.
So this week is the one-year anniversary of October 7th attacks. A lot of people know what happened at the Nova Music Festival, but for people who don't, can you give us a little taste of what happened?
There were about 4,000, more than 3,000 festival goers, young people, love and peace, and they wanted to celebrate life. And they were standing there at the highest moment of this festival. A rocket started to be fired from Gaza, and soon after there were pickup trucks with Hamas terrorists coming in and just massacring with machine guns and AK-47 anyone they saw. There were about more than 340 deaths from this people. 40 of them were kidnapped to Gaza. Still, some of them in Gaza, of course. And so many horrific moments that happened there, and the people who suffered so much in this. I think this, and what is really unique about this, it's not only the magnitude, which was horrendous, and it's just like evil coming into the most, peaceful or peace-loving event that you can think of, and suddenly this 7th century evilness coming in and storming inside of this. This was the scene. It was a horrific scene that, everybody also later on watched, because it was the most documented massacre, I think, in history.
I think that's a very good point. Hamas filmed all of it with GoPros. They were so proud of the slaughter of women, of children, of men, the burning of bodies. Yet almost immediately after October 7th, by October 8th, there were people denying it, even though there was the footage. How do you explain that?
I think this is a part of propaganda, a major campaign of propaganda to, first of all, make Israel weak and to show Israel as a weak country that can be attacked, that they cannot give security to their own citizens. And on the other side, to show the bravery of Hamas or the jihad, so they can spark jihadists from all around the world to understand that they can do this not only in Israel. I think Israel is one step before, the big plan of jihadi ideology to conquer the West, to conquer the free society of the West and be the dominant power.
We're 1 year since the October 7th attack, and already people are starting to forget and not speak about it. It's so important to document this. Yet today, when you show your film in movie theaters, there are protests. How do you explain that?
I think this is part of this denial. This is part of this denial. This is part of taking and blaming the victim. There were 1,500 people who were massacred that day. Israelis, foreign nationals, by a vicious attack that came from Gaza. And the whole idea of this propaganda, of this campaign, is to turn the things around, to put the blame on the victim and get away with this. And that's how it works. Using the social media, using the ignorant mind of many people in the West. And you see that this denial and this putting the blame on the people who got massacred, you really don't understand how it happened, although you understand it through the way ideological subversion is working.
Zadok, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
We're living in a free society. Freedom is the most important and cherished value that we have. But we taking it for granted. And that could be taken from us very easily by people who don't respect freedom, who will attack our freedom. And we have to be very careful and aware of this all the time.
Thank you, Zadok, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, wishing you a meaningful Day of Atonement. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the longest disputes in modern history. The two-state solution, which envisions an independent state of Palestine alongside Israel, has been a central focus of many failed peace negotiations. A principal obstacle to the two-state solution is the fact that the land of Israel is the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. The land of Israel holds profound significance, rooted in Jewish history and religion. The Torah describes numerous events that happened in specific places in Israel that can still be visited today. Jerusalem is mentioned hundreds of times in the Tanakh. The Bible also recounts the journey the Israelites took from Egypt to the land of Israel and the commandment to settle there. Many people are quick to promote the idea of a two-state solution without a proper understanding of the history of the land of Israel, the state of Israel, and the radicalization of the Palestinians. The Jewish people have had a deep-seated historical and emotional connection to the land of Israel for thousands of years. Areas like Judea and Samaria, commonly referred to as the West Bank, are not just territories, but symbols of Jewish heritage and identity. Numerous attempts have been made at establishing peace, but one side clearly does not want to live side by side in peace. The Oslo Accords, signed in the early 1990s, were initially seen as a breakthrough in the peace process. The Oslo process left many critical issues unresolved. The agreements provided a framework for negotiation, but lacked specific solutions to contentious issues. Moreover, the Accords did not adequately address the underlying hostility of the Palestinians, which continues to escalate until this very day, with generations of Palestinian children being taught to hate Israel and to work toward the destruction of the Jewish state. The Second Intifada, which lasted from 2000 to 2005, severely damaged the prospect of a two-state solution as well, sparked by the failure of the 2000 Camp David peace talks and Ariel Sharon's visit to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The uprising of Palestinians against Jews resulted in widespread violence, with over 100 suicide bombings causing nearly 1,000 civilian casualties. This wave of unrest hardened Israeli public opinion against peace concessions, leading to a shift towards more security-focused policies. The Israeli government built the separation barrier, increased military operations in Judea and Samaria, and expanded communities in the biblical heartland of Israel. Security concerns are therefore a major impediment to the two-state solution. For many Israelis, the establishment of a Palestinian state raises fears of increased security risks, including the potential for terrorism and large-scale attacks. Hamas views the destruction of the one and only Jewish state as a religious duty, framing it as a jihad against the occupying force. Its charter, written in 1988, rejects the legitimacy of Israel's right to exist and calls for its destruction, believing that all of the land from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea belongs to Muslims. As a concession by Israel to the Palestinians in the pursuit of peace, Israel withdrew from the coastal enclave in 2005. However, instead of peace, this led to the rise of the fanatic Hamas terrorist organization and years of rocket attacks on Israeli territory, and ultimately to the massacre on October 7th. Hamas is a recognized terrorist organization that was founded with the explicit aim of establishing an Islamic state in all of historic Palestine. Its core ideology still rejects a two-state solution, demanding that all of Israel be replaced with an Islamic Palestinian state.
Since October 7th, it is clear that a two-state solution in Israel is irrelevant. Israel can no longer live with the prospect of a terror state in its own borders.
Ensuring the security of its citizens is paramount for Israel. The potential for a new Palestinian state to become a source of instability or aggression is not acceptable. In addition, corrupt Palestinian leaders have little incentive to pursue genuine peace, as the ongoing conflict allows them to maintain power and enrich themselves. Peace would bring accountability, transparency, and a focus on rebuilding society. It would threaten their control and expose their corruption. The challenges facing the flawed idea of a two-state solution are significant and multifaceted. The path to peace will require rethinking strategies and exploring alternative solutions that address the situation on the ground and offer more realistic and sustainable frameworks for resolution. Up next, the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
I want to tell you that this is the day when the church needs to stand with Israel, like Moses, like Aaron, like her, on the mountain to pray for a clear victory of Israel against those forces of darkness.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem has been a voice of Christian support for Israel and connected the global church to the land of the Bible. Headquartered in Jerusalem, the ICEJ has taken action to stand with Israel by caring for Holocaust survivors, helping Jewish families return home to Israel, providing bomb shelters, fighting anti-Semitism around the world, and by inviting Christians to discover Israel for themselves.
Dear friends, I'm coming to you from the Gaza envelope, from Kibbutz Be'eri, the place that probably was worst hit by those atrocities of October 7. 10% of the population of this kibbutz were killed, mutilated, raped, and it was a day where the president of Israel said it was the darkest day in the history of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Now, the Word of God tells us that the battle in which we are engaging, it is not a battle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers in the heavenly places. And what we have seen in Kibbutz Be'eri was a demonic manifestation of the spirit of Amalek. It was hitting people that were peace-loving residents of this community, like the following story.
כן, הבית הזה גרה פה ויויאן, שהייתה פעילת שלום, שבאה מקנדה, אין יותר ממנה, הייתה מסיעה, אנשים עד לעזה, היו אוכלים אצלה, שותים, ופה היא מצאה את מותה. פשוט לא שרפו לה את הבית ורצחו אותה. ומה שאני אומר, חמאס, דאעש, נאצים, הם לא בוחלים, אין חברים. הם רוצים להרוג את כל היהודים ואת כל הנוצרים בעולם, זה האמונה שלהם וזה מה שהם רוצים.
What you hear here, it's a rebirth of the spirit of Amalek in our time. I don't think this spirit of Amalek, of hating the Jews, wanting to annihilate the Jewish people, were more powerful manifested than on October 7. I want to call upon our prayer partners from around the world to understand, even though you see the physical destruction of that house, we are not waging a physical war. Our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against demonic powers that are operating over there in Gaza with organizations like Hamas, like Islamic Jihad, that have one target: to annihilate the Jewish people. This spirit needs to be addressed in prayer. We need you to speak out to your communities about the atrocities that were taking place here in this land. And it's a time where the church needs to wake up, where they need to stand up. Not only confessions are enough today, where we say we love Israel, but actions are needed. Today, a praying church is being needed around the world. Please join our various prayer initiatives, either the global prayer gathering, the Rosh Chodesh prayer, 24/7 campaign. Israel needs today your prayer more than ever. Thank you so much for standing with us, and I look forward to see you and to welcome you in one of our prayer meetings. God bless you here from the envelope of Gaza.
After Hamas brutally attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023, the ICEJ has been actively standing with Israel and her people through advocacy and urgently needed aid projects. Now is the time for Christians to turn their love for Israel and the Jewish people into real action as never before. Your donation will help deliver bomb shelters to at-risk areas, provide necessary supplies for first responders, care for evacuees with food, shelter, clothing, and trauma care, and will eventually help rebuild these devastated communities. Visit ICEJUSA.tv to donate online or call 1-800-910-6355 and give your generous gift today.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.